Hi, in this lecture we are going to cover the most important amendments of direct tax for as per the Finance Act 2024, which is applicable for your CS June 2025 attempt. This session will cover all the amendments, so you don't have to look everywhere for it, and you can just read through this particular lecture and take down the notes so that you have holistically covered the entire amendments. I will try and make it concise, to the point, so that it will become easier for you all to study. I have been working in this field for the last 15 years, and I have been teaching for the last 12 years. So I will try and make this session as interactive as possible. If you all have any doubts, please feel free to put it in the comment section or reach out to me directly. Okay, let's start. Now, as per the Finance Act 2024, that is the Finance Act which is applicable for your June 25 exam. Now, the Finance Act 24 governs your assessment year 25-26, that is your previous year 24-25. This is most important because all your sums, all your questions will be based on this previous year 24-25 and assessment year 25-26. Now, let's start with the tax slabs. Now, as you all may be knowing, there are two tax regimes, old tax regime and new tax regime. As per your Finance Act 24, the new tax slabs are, remember your table of 3. Okay, so 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12, 12 to 15 and above 15 lakhs. And over here, it has increments in 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20 and then 30. So let's start 0 to 3, no tax. 3 to 6 lakhs, 5% on the slab. 6 to 9, 10% on the slab. 9 to 12, 15%. 12 to 15, 20%, and above 15 lakhs, whatever is there, will be taxed at 30%. So, if I'm earning 16 lakh rupees, above 15 is how much? 1 lakh. That 1 lakh will be taxed at 30%. Okay, that is how slabs are to be done. Now, this is your slab rates which you will have to remember, which is applicable in your new tax regime. Now, the new tax regime is default. That means when I go to file my return, this will be the default which will be applicable to me unless I opt for the old tax regime. Now, under the new tax regime, the standard deduction is 50,000. Rebate which is applicable, rebate is there is no tax applicable if you are earning up to 7 lakh rupees, which is amazing. Earlier it was 5 lakhs, they have made it 7 lakhs. And the surcharge, that is tax on tax, and remember, surcharge is only applicable only when you are earning a higher income. So the maximum surcharge is now 25%. Earlier it was 37. Okay, so now what is this surcharge? If your income is between 50 lakhs to 1 crore, the tax whatever you have to pay, on that you have to pay additional surcharge of 10%. If it is between 1 crore to 2 crores, it is 15%. Above 2 crores, then whatever it may be, if you are earning, then there is 25% on the tax that is computed. Okay. Now this was your old tax regime. If you want to go and remember, the new tax regime is on 3 lakhs. 3 lakhs, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Here it is 2.5, 2.5, 5, then 5 to 10 and then above 10. And 5, 20, 30. And rebate under the old tax regime is 5 lakhs. Now it has become 7. Now it is on the taxpayer to opt which is beneficial for them, and accordingly they can opt for the regime, which old or new. Now, obviously, the new tax regime, if you see, because if you see the slabs, we saw 5, 10, 15, 20 and then 30. The tax rate is fairly lower. However, no deductions are allowed. Okay, so whatever investments you make, then no deductions are allowed. Okay, in the old tax regime, obviously deductions are allowed, but the tax rate is higher. So, depending on what you as a taxpayer is beneficial, you can opt for it. Okay, now let's go to corporate rate of tax. For foreign companies, always the tax rate has been 40%, which now they have reduced and made it 35. So this is for government is trying to have more foreign companies, make India an attractive destination for foreign companies with a lower taxation of 35%. Now, corporate tax for Indian companies, this is one question that I get very often, that what should we opt for, okay, when they are incorporating an entity, LLP or a company. I generally suggest go for a company if your intention is to make profit, to have investments, etc. Because company gives a lower tax rate. Generally, it is 25%. Okay, and obviously, unless you are in the, if your turnover, that is sales, is more than 400 crores, then it is 30%. But if you are a new company, up to 400 crores, if you are earning only 25%, and if you're manufacturing company, even better, only 15%. Okay, so but however, if you're an LLP, it is 30% tax rate, so that is why company is generally preferred. Now this is for your slab rates and tax rates. Let's go to your 5 heads of income. Let's start with income from salary. Now you remember, under income from salary, under section 10 AA, we do leave encashment. In leave encashment, the leave encashment on retirement for non-government employees. For government employees, it is generally exempt entirely. For non-government, there was a limit of 3 lakhs, which has now increased to 25 lakhs. This is brilliant, because this becomes beneficial for your employees when they are resigning and they have certain leave encashment, and when they encash it, and when it is more than up 3 lakhs, and if it is up to 25 lakhs, they don't have to pay any tax on it. Okay, standard deduction, you can claim 50,000 standard deduction, we already saw, which is there in the new tax regime. This is Agniveer Corpus Fund. The government's contribution to Agniveer's Corpus Fund is taxable but deductible under 80 CCH. So if I am putting money in the Agniveer Corpus Fund, I can take a deduction under 80 CCH. So this is the main important changes that have happened under your Finance Act 24 for income from salary. Let's go to income from house property. Under income from house property, there is no change in interest deduction. So if you are having, that is for your LOP, let out property, whatever is the interest you have paid, take a full deduction. Okay, paid, payable, etc. If it is a self-occupied property, it is 2 lakh rupees. It has always been 2 lakhs, no change over there. Interest deduction. Okay, under 24B. Restriction on set off of house property loss. Now this set off, there was no amount mentioned that how much can you set off if there is a loss. Now they are saying this loss is capped at 2 lakh rupees per year, and this can be set off against any other head of income. So this is a new change where they are now capping the set off also under income from house property on SOP. Now let's go to the next one, income from business profession. Income from business profession is presumptive taxation. There were two, 44AD, 44AD and 44ADA. This is all presumptive taxation in income from business profession. If let's say 44AD, if your turnover limit is up to 2 crores, okay, you can claim the benefit under 44AD. What was the benefit? That you don't have to do audit, you don't have to maintain books. Whatever is your revenue receipts, just pay 8% of it and just show 8% of it as your taxable income. So for example, if my revenue is money that I receive is 100, let's say 100 lakhs. Okay, obviously you'll say 100 lakhs if I've received as revenue, that is not my profit or taxable net taxable income. I will deduct all my expenses from it. and whatever is left will be my taxable income. So I will have to keep my books of accounts to maintain my expenses, etc. So let's say if my expense is 80, the 20 becomes my profit, net revenue, whatever you want to call it. This is what you have to pay tax on generally. Now they are saying if you are into 44 AD, small in business person, okay, your turnover is 2 crores, which has now increased to 3 crores. If your revenue is up to 3 crores, they are saying don't do all of these books, maintenance, etc. We don't want you to do this. Simply declare 8%. Okay, so let's say if my revenue is 200 crores. Okay, what will be 8% of that? Sorry, 200 lakhs. Okay, so that will be 16 lakhs will be my net taxable income. I have to pay tax only on 16 lakhs, not on 200. Easy. Okay, now if you are a professional, then earlier it was 50 lakhs. If my revenue, my receipts is 50 lakhs, I could take up to 50 lakhs, I could take benefit of this. So just pay 50% as my net receipts, remaining 50 show as expense. Now they have made it to 75 lakhs. So if I'm earning up to 75 lakhs, no tension, only declare percentage, that is half of it as expense, remaining half pay your tax on. So if I'm earning 75, let's say I'm earning 70 lakhs a year. If I'm earning 70 lakhs a year, okay, the remaining half, that is 35 lakhs, I'll have to pay tax on. Okay, if I'm a professional earning 75 lakhs, 50% I can show as my expense. I don't need to keep books of accounts, etc. Okay, now if so, this benefit, very important, this of 3 crore limit, etc., is applicable only if my transaction must be digital. You can't have money coming in cash, then your limit is 2 crores. Okay, but generally now all businesses have gone digital. Even if you go to the smallest shopkeeper, they all have UPI codes. Your taxi drivers, rickshaw drivers all have UPI. So generally India is moving towards digitization. So they are saying 95% of your transactions are digital, then your limit is 3 crores. Okay, now net income, 8% of your turnover. The net income will be considered 6% in case of digital receipts. What is the meaning of digital receipts? If let's say I am earning over here, I said 8% now. Let's say now this income I'm saying is entirely digital. So if it is entirely digital, this then becomes 6%. How amazing is that? And instead of 16, only 12 lakhs I have to pay my tax on. Got it? Easy. So it will become 12 lakhs is your net income on which I have to pay my tax. Now, mandatory payments to MSMEs for deduction. Businesses must pay MSME suppliers within 45 days. If they do not, let's say if I have availed your services, you raise an invoice on me, you are an MSME. I don't pay you for 45 days. The amount I cannot take as a deduction. Simple. Non-cash benefits or perquisites from business are now taxable. Now let's understand what does this mean. Let's say I am providing you certain services. Okay, I am a lawyer, I am a CA, I'm a CS, I'm providing you certain services. You, because you're happy or I helped you with something, you gift me a laptop worth 1 lakh rupees. This 1 lakh rupees laptop, it is non-cash. This is a benefit to me. This will be added in my total income. So let's say if I've earned 70 lakhs, this 1 lakh will become my income and of my business. So I will now have to pay tax on 71 lakhs. Okay. Another example. Let's say because I have helped you in, I'm a lawyer, I helped you with certain transactions, you gift me and my entire office a trip to Thailand. Very common. Okay, lot of insurance companies and all provide these kind of perquisites. The trip cost for the entire office will be added in my business income. Okay, now this is another thing. So we have to keep a tab of what perquisites, what benefits, non-cash benefits we are receiving. Okay, now next one, capital gains. That is your fourth head. Now the Finance Act, this is a very important amendment. Okay, the capital gains, long term capital gains limit only has decreased from 20% LTCG to 12.5% LTCG. There was a huge hue and cry. People were like, no, what about real estate uh, owners who have held the property for a long term? If now you tell them that you have to pay tax on 12.5% without indexation benefit, then it will be a loss to them. So, except for real estate transactions, all other transactions now no indexation. Remember, we used to do all these indexation, calculation, etc. Everything is gone except for real estate transactions where still indexation is available. Now you have to take flat 12.5%. So, now earlier we used to adjust the inflation index, etc. Now for any sales made on or after 23rd July 2024, indexation benefit has been removed for all financial, non-financial assets except real estate transactions. The tax rate obviously has decreased except for HUF and individuals. They can take benefit of indexation for real estate transactions only, and that too assets purchased on or before 23rd July 2024. Okay, they can take this 20% with indexation or 12.5% without indexation. Fair? Now, you want, there is an example over here, let's go through it. Mr. A purchased plot of land for 30 lakhs in 2010, sold it for 80 lakhs in 2024. Now, because it is after 23rd July 2024, I have two options because my purchase was done before 23rd July 2024 and it is a real estate transaction. Okay, index cost of acquisition. The cost of acquisition, when I index it, it becomes 60 lakhs. So LTCG is 80 minus 60, 20 lakhs. I pay tax at the rate of 20%, which is 4 lakhs. Now, assuming there is no indexation, so I take 80 lakhs minus 30 lakhs, 50 lakhs, and my tax at 12.5% will be 6.25. I have to pay more tax if I do not take indexation benefit. That's why for real estate transactions only, and that too for individuals and HUF, this provision is still there. You can compare and see which is beneficial for you. Now, the removal of indexation increases tax burdens for assets held for a long term. However, lower rate of tax is beneficial for those obviously who are recent, who are having it for a recent investment and not a long term asset holder. Okay. Now, other than this, the Finance Act has also introduced key changes in the taxation of capital gains. Let's see what. Now, all listed securities will be classified as long term which are held for more than 12 months. Okay, that was always there. All other assets, all other, there is no 36 months requirement. It has become all other assets are 24 months. So if you're holding even house property or gold or any other asset, 2 years you hold it, it becomes a LTCG. Okay, no need to pay STCG tax on, no need to classify as a short term capital gain. Okay, now unlisted bonds and debentures will now be taxed at slab rate. Very good. Okay, depending on where you go, treating them as short term capital assets regardless of how long they are held. So if they are unlisted bonds and debentures, earlier depending on the holding period they were taxed. Now if it is a bond or a debenture and it is unlisted, it will be treated as a short term capital asset and it will be taxed at your slab rate. Short term capital gains on listed shares equity, which was earlier taxed at 20%, now it is 15%. Good for us. The exemption limit on listed shares, remember it was 1 lakh rupees for 1 year, it has now been increased slightly to 1.2 lakhs, 1.25 lakhs per year. The LTCG on equity oriented investments has been increased to 12.5% LTCG tax rate. So there was a beneficial tax rate to entice us to invest in equity oriented funds, gone. Now you are also going to pay that also at 12.5%. Okay, let's go through this illustration. If an individual makes a long-term capital gains of 1.3 lakhs from the sale of listed shares, first 1.25 lakhs will be tax-free. The remaining 5,000 will be taxed at 12.25%. That is, applicable tax liability is only 625. Short-term investors face high tax rates. Long-term investors get relief due to higher tax exemption limit for LTCG. Fair? Now, so these are your changes in the 5 heads of income. Let's go to your TDS and TCS changes. TDS, good thing that has happened, your TDS rates have been decreased, and where all we'll just see any insurance commission, life insurance, lottery commissions, brokerage, all commissions if you see for over there it has decreased. Then rent that we have to pay under 19, rent by individual or HUF, payments by individual HUF, and e-commerce payments. All of this has been decreased to a lower tax rate. Okay. Now, because why it is beneficial, if the TDS rates have decreased, then your cash flow is, you have to pay, you have to deduct lesser and pay to the government. You have to deduct lesser tax and you pay more to the vendor. So as a company, I receive more money. Earlier, let's say if I was receiving, I am to receive 100, the payer will deduct 5 and only pay me 95. Now the deductor will pay me 98. So it helps in my cash flow. I get more money. That's it. Another thing which has happened is abolition of angel tax. This is, lot of startups are very happy with this. What is the meaning of this? Angel tax, understand? Let's say it's a private company, startup company basically. The fair market value of the share, the face value is 10 rupees, but the fair market value of the share is 120 rupees. Okay, I issue the share at 150 rupees. It is above the fair market value. What is the extra amount that I have issued it above FMV? Above FMV, 30 rupees I have issued it. This used to be taxed earlier. Okay, taxed in hands of company. Okay, as under section 56, what is that? Income from other sources. So this becomes an income. I have received money from an investor in my company. I have received 150 rupees. They are saying, okay, the fair market value of your share is only 120. The extra 30 that you have got, pay tax on it. Okay, now they have abolished this angel tax. Angel tax was levied, so there is no angel tax now. It was levied only on startups when they receive funds by issuing shares more than the fair market value. Under 56 to 7B, the Finance Act has abolished angel tax, allowing startups to raise capital at whatever amount they want from investors. This change makes fundraising easier. If a startup issued shares at 200, market value was 150, extra 50 was taxed, now it is tax free. Good for companies and startup companies basically. Okay, so these are all the changes for your exam, June 2025 exam. All the best, guys. Please feel free to reach out if you all need any help. Okay, thank you.